Hello everyone. Charisma is my dump stat in real life, so I'm not going to put my face up. I'm just going to explain to you exactly how I made it through all of the brand new Mystic subclasses Unearthed Arcana for 2026 and made it functional in DnDBeyond. That's the only thing that you need to care about is I got it to work for each of the 4 subclasses. I'm assuming you have a little bit of experience with what DnDBeyond is. Maybe you've played with it, maybe you haven't. How do you get it to work? What does it do? The easiest way for you to do it first is you can actually go to the one and only subclass that is easy to put in, and it will actually become approved and published, and that's Warrior of the Mystic Arts Monk. And you can find it in the homebrew section. So if you go to collections, you go to my homebrew collection, you can look it up on that marketplace. And if you see the one that says Warrior of the Mystic Arts that I put up, there you go. You could be one of the 111 people so far, or 144 people that added it, and use it right now with no problems. Otherwise, you're somebody who's had some difficulty with DnDBeyond and you want to know how to add these things because you are just flummoxed. You know what it is, you liked playing with it, your DM uses it, whatever the case is, and you need some help. So let's start. We are going to go through all 4, hopefully, in the time that I have available. And hopefully we'll be able to show you what I did. Not necessarily like step-by-step how to go through it. Showing every page and click. I'm going to show you the philosophy of what it takes to put it in and how hard it is, so that you can go through and do that part. It took a few hours for sure, and it might just take that long to explain it. So I'm just going to have to do the best I can with your time and mine. How's that sound? Okay, Warrior of the Mystic Arts. Let's expand it out and see. So did I get the Mystic Focus, the spell slots, and everything else working? This is just text. Everything that you see on this stuff, it doesn't say anything is or isn't working. It's just text that got thrown into a text window. So how do we take this text and put it into here? You copy and paste it. How do you get these tables in? Well, you go into Excel, Google Sheets, anything that uses a spreadsheet, and you make it. It'll come out looking like this. This was made in Excel. So the top line, they go left and right, depending on how you do it. You might miss some of the way that the coloring works. Who cares? What you care about is that the spell sheets, the lists and everything are correct. Okay, I'm going to go into edit and show you what it looks like. Well, I'll show you what it looks like at the end. I was messing around having them fight a lich and set it up to level 20. You can see that here. Okay, so yeah, I had all 4 of these guys and they were setting up fighting against the lich. I set up on their maps function, the auras and all the fine stuff. And they can take out a lich with the 4 of them, and the stuff that's just in, like a couple of +3 things of equipment, and 2 rounds for a lich, 3 rounds for Vecna. They're pretty powerful, but so should everybody be at level 20. So, okay, if we go into the builder, there we go, and we want to look up how to set everything. When we get to the end of this, when you see it in the builder, you will be able to choose it as normal, and the things that you're looking up, like spellcasting, the stuff that shows up here, this is what it's going to end up looking like. It'll look slightly different than what it did on the main page because it's separated out. What's the other feature called? Mystic Focus. This one. So same thing, it's just a table. You're not going to be able to automatically click on something and convert these point values over. You're going to have to do that yourself. You can track your focus points via the class. Will have a number that you can run up and down as normal, and that's how you'll have to track it. So you will have spell slots. You'll just have to do it manually. Manage your expectations now. Okay, as far as your fighting style goes, that was another thing at level 6, Mystic Fighting Style. Again, it's just text. You're going to have to keep track of your attacks and things like that. Centered focus at 11. And again, again, it's just text. 17 is improved mystic fighting style. You do it again. That's why this one was so easy to import, is because most of the features are things you're just going to have to track at the table anyway, and it's just text boxes. So what's the most confusing part? Well, how do you make a subclass like this one? Where's my homebrew creation of this one? And it should let me edit. There's usually an edit button. Sometimes this part can be tricky, so maybe we'll go and try to create a new version. Okay, let's try to create new version. See what it lets me do. It's of course going to be a pain in my butt right now. Okay, let's try going to my homebrew collection. I have a lot of stuff because I play around in this a lot, and I like putting my stuff from the DM's Guild there. This thing is stupid. UA. Let's see if it'll filter that. Every browser seems to act a little bit different than what you tried when you went through, and here we go. This is the one I want. Finally. You know what I think it is because it was a published one so that you guys would have access to it. And that's why it was fighting me. Sometimes you just got to fix stuff. Okay, when you put in a version, put in the version number of something that you'll remember. For me, I put in UA Mystic 2015. You can put whatever is going to make it work for you. You put in the name. The short description is like the thing that will pop up for one sentence or two sentences when you're making a decision based on a list of stuff. How do I put this? You got 100 different subclasses and you got to pick from them. What's going to get to the gist of it? Well, they didn't give us a lot of information, but that text came from up here. Usually if there was a few paragraphs from over here, then on the UA, then we would put it all down here in the big one, okay? But for the small one, if there's only a little bit, you put that there. You will be able to find it. So you read through the subclass. What's it going to tell you? It's going to tell you whether or not you are an int, whiz, or charisma caster. You're going to put spellcasting ability here. Then you're going to put can cast spells. If you were to change some other spell subclass and you wanted to make a cleric that uses charisma, for instance, this is also where you would toggle it. You don't change anything if you want to leave it alone. Can cast spells? Yes, because they can. Additional spell lists. Let's say you are a wizard and you want to add the cleric spell list. You would go in here and you would add whatever spell list and they would have access to it. That doesn't mean that they would have it prepared. That means that they would be able to prepare it for use out of their prepared spells or their spell book or whatever the function is. This is a half caster. When you get it as a subclass and not as a regular class, as a half caster, you get it at level 3, which basically makes you like a third caster. That's how this gets functioned. If the subclass were applied at level 1, you would get some additional spell slots and it would go up to level 5 and you'd be a true half caster. This only goes up to level 4. It's a third caster, but that's how it works. Knows all spells. That means it's like a druid where you have a list of all of the spells available and you're just picking from them. The spell type is prepared. So instead of it saying learn, it'll say prepare. I think it's just a text toggle. Additional spells are for specific spells here. This is just to add it to your spell book. That's not like, so if we go down here, okay, the Spellguard Paladin gets these additional spells, but those spells are always prepared. That's not the same thing as what we're looking at here in this specific spells thing. This is if you're just adding it to the options. This is Joe from the future here cutting in. I forgot to put that you need to type in that you need a sorcerer spell list for the class in order to get the spells. You have to decide what type of spells that you want and what you're going to get. So you would take current 2024 because that's when the UA comes out. You could do it for the 2014, that's up to you, but I would suggest you take the 2024 rules and then save it. Okay, and then I don't know why it didn't appear here before, because it is definitely in there. Maybe it wipes it out. I don't know, but you would like the additional spell list to be from Sorcerer, and then you will have access to everything that you're supposed to get. Okay, back to regular time. If you had something that you wanted to put in for art, that's the avatar and the large avatar. That's like the flavor text stuff in the books. Okay, so that's what these do. That's where you use them. These are my settings. If you hit save, you get access to this section of the menu here. Okay, this one here. You don't get that until you hit save. You have to save it, and then it'll give it a name. This name will pop up as to what it is, and that's when you get these things. That's going to happen on pretty much every single menu page. You will get additional options after you hit save. If you don't see something right away, save it, and you probably will. Class features. This is the stuff that pops in per section and per level. As you can see, you're going to set a required level, and for this one it's 3, 6, 11, and 17 for these levels, and you give it a name, and then you give it the feature type granted. Granted means they get it automatically. It's not additional and it's not replacement. Certain things need to be done in replacement because they overwrite and take away a previous option in order to upgrade it. Those would be replacements. Stuff that gets added in like Tasha's that makes it so that you can have the option to add it, like circle casting and stuff like that. That would be an additional instead. Those are the naming conventions for that. You can choose them whether or not you want. Granted, it's the spell class, subclass feature, and that's what you're going to be given. Okay, so if I added one, it's going to take me to a page that lets me see stuff. I'm going to open up an edited one so that you can see. In order to grant spell casting, you can't just go to this page over here and say, can cast spells, yes, and they get everything. It doesn't work that way. You have to actually create a feature, manually name it spell casting. Oh, great. All my stupid notifications from BackerKit. I back a lot of RPGs. Should surprise no one. And you type in or copy paste is a lot quicker. You just copy it and you paste it into here, and you set your italics and your bolds to make it look pretty. This is just text. You make a table in Excel or Google Sheets or whatever you got, and that will make a quick table for you. If you had to, you can type it in HTML style, but just make it in Excel. Make your life easier. You'll have to go back through and change all the formatting again just to make it pretty. But this is not giving you spells or anything like that. Like just typing it in here doesn't give you the spell slots. That is all part of an automatic algorithm you have zero access to. So do the best you can. Your required class level is when you get it. So it says level 3, you put level 3. You think it should go to the top for quick access and being able to find it, set it as a low order number like 1. Some of these will have options. This one doesn't. It just gets set to granted. This is a drop down when you set it, and then it stays that way. You have to delete it and then change it again if you wanted to do anything else. Nothing else has to be changed in order for it to give you spell casting. You don't even need to fill any of this out. You just need to name it spell casting, and it will give you the spells and it'll turn them on in your sheet. Okay, and proof of that is my sheet. And you can see I can pick from spells. See? So it works. That's how it functions. If you don't do that, then you're not getting anything. Okay? And we go back. Close out that one. Oh no, that was something else I was working on. Okay. The Mystic Focus. Okay. All the Mystic Focus is it says, oh, this is your fighting style. Same thing. You make it, you name it, you copy paste this stuff in, and you set it at the table. Make sure you set the required class to 6. And this one, though, I did set for the spell slot recovery what's called an action. This is not necessarily all of your actions in that are called action, bonus action, reaction. This is a lot of stuff you can mess around with. If you look at it, it says you can recover spell slots as a bonus action. And it doesn't have a restriction on it, but I'm going to edit that. Never mind my friends popping up in their stupid, I get every menu thing in the world. Setting the recovery spell slot. This is the function of using your focus points to buy spell slots, and I think you can sell them back maybe even, but it looks like maybe just one way. You set your activation type here. Bonus action is what it told you. Otherwise, reactions, specials, no actions, things like that. Special, if you just want to track something, you need to make sure that you have a reset type, or else you won't be able to see it. So this one is other because it's not a short, long rest or next day. And then if you needed to, you could also do limited use data. This is how you make trackers for things like pet activations or any other thing. If you make a null action under general with whatever information you want, you can set the limited use information and track it that way. It's the only really way to do it in Dungeons and Dragons Beyond. And otherwise, you just have to get a bunch of notepads and track it that way. This one's not an attack, so otherwise you would say display as attack. And then it would show up under, let's go back, when you want to see stuff. Under actions, under here, under attack. If you set something to be in here, then it would appear in here. But yeah, it's not, so that's not where it shows up. If you go to other, it will appear somewhere. Bonus action is where it should show up. Recover spell slot, right here. So that's where it pops in, and that's what the table looks like and everything when you click on it. So if it said it was an attack or something else, it would show up in a different location. If it was just a regular action, then it would show up there, but this is a bonus action. And it just kind of dumps in. There's nothing special. If you want to put an asterisk on it or something, you can name it that way. If that helps it stick out to you, that's up to you. Okay, so that should get you that information. Then you're going to go to Mystic Fighting Style. Again, you're just making it. You're setting the level. You're setting it to granted. There's nothing else that has to be done. Copy paste the information over. Okay, centered focus. Rinse and repeat. Copy the information over. Make sure that it is set to level 11 and there's nothing else that needs to be set, and make sure it's set to granted. Then improved Mystic Fighting Style. Same thing. Copy it over, set it to 17, set your feature to granted, and there's nothing else here. It's a very simple subclass. You don't really need to do anything else to it. And once you have it all set in, again, keep jumping back to my map for later descriptions and things and reference, you'll be able to get in there. Level 20, I gave them a couple things that came from, it's Monk 201 is the name of the article on DnDBeyond, and it said, hey, top 10 items for a monk. So I just threw those on. The attuned ones are right here. Some type of tattoo, gloves and bracers, and you can add other stuff to it, but at level 20 you're going to have whatever items you want basically, and you get pretty good. So stats looked pretty good. HP max was pretty good. I did take a hit off the Lich when I was testing, so, you know, a little bit down. But otherwise, it's, you get the spells, you can trade out something like Shillelagh or Shocking Grasp. I mean, you're already there, right? So if you need a different type of damage, at 4d8 for a single attack that gets swapped out for one of your regular attacks per action is pretty good. Otherwise, your unarmed strike is 1d12 plus 7. So you're looking at 4d8. So 32 divided by 2 gives you an average. That's 16. Whereas this is 1d, so 12 divided by 2 is that 6 plus 7 is 13. So your averages are about 3 points apart, depending on what type of attack you want to do. Not bad. It's not too rough. You can use Magic Initiate, like I did, in order to get stuff like Thorn Whip as you level up, and make it work for your ranged, if that's what you want to do. I don't think it's too bad a class. It's kind of neat. So as you set it up the rest of the way, you're good. So now we need to move to, what's the next one? Spell Guard. Okay. So we're going to look at creations. And for me, type in Spell Guard. I have to do this in the middle of the day, so I'm going to get a bunch of stupid notifications. I'm just going to have to blank out later. Okay, so this is still editable and easy for me. You can see how it all kind of like breaks down. I have to create these false entries here that get hidden. They're here so you can see them, but they're false entries for the spells. Why did I have to do that for the spells? Why couldn't I just type these in? Because it says you therefore always have them prepared. Right. If they're prepared, that's separate than just being in your list of possible spells to prepare. It has to be set automatically. That makes things difficult. Okay? You're going to be going back and doing a lot of things in a totally different way, and that's why you're here, because you didn't know how to do it. Right? Okay, so we're going to close out this guy, and we're going to open up this guy. Takes a second. Pops in. See, this guy has 9 features because I had to make false ones that fit in here to go with it. Oath of the Spell Guard. Copy over the tenets, copy over the other stuff. Looking here in this section here, the spellcasting abilities and additional list, I didn't have to touch any of it because it's the same as a regular paladin. Anything you touch in here is going to override it, so you don't want to. I did add these specific spells in here to see if it would affect anything, if it would make it available. You can throw them in there just to throw them in there, but it's not going to prepare them. I would say put them in both places just because it's really fast, and in case there is some other reason why you might or might not have it, at least it's there for you. Okay, Spellguard Strike. How does this one work? It's when you see something, there's no way for the computer to know what you see, so you have to activate it on your own. Okay, it has a reaction as the activation type, as you can see that. So you would set an action by adding an action and making it a weapon, so that it appears in your list. Actions, attack actions, Spellguard Strike. I'll clear all so you don't have to see my stuff. But you can see it here. The Spellguard Strike is here. That's just for the hit. And it's only a 2-hit because I don't know which weapon you're going to use to do that. That's just something here. If you're, it's in there as a reminder that, hey, as a reaction, I can do this thing. That's why I programmed it that way. Okay. named Spellguard Strike. Attack range is melee because it's supposed to be a melee attack. It says specifically you make a melee attack. Okay, so you have to put that range there. If you want to display it as an attack, it will show up under the attack options and not the reactions. So that's why I just have it under reaction. There's no limit to how many times you can do it, so it's set to other, and it basically just pops there. As you can see here, I do not have the option to set the to hit +5 or +11 or whatever it is separately. It's going to put that in on its own. You're kind of screwed that way. That's why it looks not 100% perfect, but you know, that's just how you're going to have to deal with it. So it says here, don't use it, use one of these. Just get reminded that, hey, I have my reaction that I can do that with. Okay? It works though, so do it. You can set otherwise if you have a better option, then do it however you want. But that's how I have it set in there. Okay. Then we start looking at the spells. Oath of the Spellguard spells. As you can see at level 3, we get Detect Magic and Shield. If you want, you can hide it in the different places. You can display required level if you want. But really, what you're doing is you are going under Add a Spell, and you're adding Detect Magic and Shield. How do you do it? Well, you go to add one, you type in here Detect Magic, and this is what's important. Because this is just a prepared spell, it is going to consume a spell slot. So when you cast it, it consumes it. Does it count as a known spell? No, because you're granted it automatically. Is it always prepared? Yes. That's what it says here. You always have it prepared. Available at character level, this is where you set that. If this were something that were limited use, you would have a reset type and a number of uses. If it had a different ability score other than your main one, you would change it the ability score that's getting used. Okay? Range, things like that, you would set it all. Right now, you're just making sure that everything on this list sets the consume spell slot, counts as not a known spell, it's automatically granted, and as that is always prepared, and just as a safeguard, that is for your character level. Setting the safeguard character level, it shouldn't matter. I do it anyway just to be, you know, exact. But because this whole feature itself is set at level 3, you should be able to do that. The unfortunate thing is you have to do that, create one for each for every single spell, and at every single granted level. That's why it looks this way. That's why there's a 3rd, a 5th, a 9th, a 13th, and a 17th. So you go to the 5th one, and it sets the required level at 5, and it does the exact same thing. It adds the spells. You will go through and do that every single time, back and forth, for all 10, 11, 14, however many spells you have, in order to set these values. This whole thing right here, that's what you care about. That it says yes, no, yes, and a character level. And if something goes wrong, it's probably because these aren't put in correctly. It is tedious, and by having to set the extra required level granted areas, that makes it ineligible to share. That's why I can't just say, hey, go and download it like you did the Mystic. Okay? It's not going to work that way. But that's how you do all of these: 3, 5th, 9th, 13th, and 17th level. Okay? Aura of Concentration. You get the ability at level 7 for your auras. You set the modifier. What does it do? It says your allies have advantage on Constitution, and to main Constitution when you're in your Aura of Protection. You are always in your Aura of Protection, so just make a modifier. Your modifier type would be advantage, and you set it to Constitution saving throws, and you're going to have to tell your friends about it. And you can set the aura like I did under here, this white block right here. what you do is you just take and make an overlay. Let's make a yellow one. And since it's 30 feet, it's going to be 35 feet, 65 feet. So it's 5 feet of the actual character. Then it's 30 on each side. So you make a 65 foot and you put them in the center. And then you click, let's say, I click on, say, the Warlock. Okay. If I take the Warlock and the thing, I can click this little thing that says group. And now they're grouped together. And whenever I move one, both move. Okay. So for example, if I were to move the steed, you know, with the paladin, everything moves. So you use the grouping in order to make that work. Okay. As far as anything else, like I said, you just have to tell them and remember at the table. There's no other way to like set boundaries that they're automatically in and out of. As far as the maps and things go, maybe in 5-10 years they'll have some type of targeting that allows you to do that. But right now, if you're within your aura, you get it within the aura, and it'll you'll have to just remind people from that. Okay, Spell Breaking Blade is the next one up. So you get to cast Counterspell. I want you to notice there are tags where it says spells, and then a tag that closes it that says spells. Every single time you take something from over here, like where it has italics, where it says Counterspell on it, it's just going to be text. But if you use these tags, and you can look up all the list of tags, there's like spells, senses, rules, I think it's monsters, not creatures, items. You can put all that stuff in, and it'll tag it for you. And when you go into the Paladin, if you go into the features and traits, some of them, class-specific features and traits, which one are we looking at? Spell Breaking Blade. Sometimes when you click on them, depending on the area, then it might be able to just have a overlay. For some reason, the description ones don't work over here. It seems to be the snippet ones that work over here. And this snippet, so far I haven't had to do anything that will automatically take a code that will do the math for you. But that's where you would do the math stuff, is in snippet. And required level 15. This is all manual, and there isn't anything here. The casting of Counterspell, you would have to have Counterspell ready to be cast in order to use this feature, and it would still use the spell slot. You're not getting anything free. It just allows you to use your spell slot if you happen to have a reaction available to do that. Okay? If you don't have a reaction, you're not using that either. The Eternal Spell Guard, this is another tricky one. Let's open it up. So, as a bonus action, you can empower your aura of protection. So this is a toggle. This becomes on, and you have to track the 10 rounds that equal 1 minute. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until a long rest. So it's also going to turn off, and you're not going to be able to use it. So you have to track that usage. But you can restore it using a spell slot. That, you just turn them on and off. Okay? What does it give you? Resistance to all damage. You have advantage on saving throws against spells, and attacks against you have disadvantage. Since the attacks against you happen from another enemy, you're just going to have to remember that one. But the stuff about the aura with advantage and resistance, that we can probably mess with. Okay? Required level 20. Granted feature. Note, has options. Right here. Options. I created 2 options. Inactive and active. Okay? So if you create a null where it's inactive, then you could turn the null on and off, just like a rage would be on and off. This is how you can set those types of features. The inactive one, I'll show you here. It just says inactive. You have not activated Eternal Spell Guard. I wrote that in. You have not activated Eternal Spell Guard. Makes it really easy for me to know what's happening. Doesn't do anything other than sets it as a null. Great. And null, N-U-L-L. Also, the bonus action and tracking it for the long rest. Since you activate it as a bonus action, you have to go in and create an action in the edit action function, called Eternal Spellguard to track it, and set it as a bonus action with a reset of long rest. You can put all this stuff back in here just so when you're clicking around you can see it easier, but you would have to set also a limited use. This is the first time we get to see a limited use. Number of uses, 1. Leave it alone. If there was some type of addition or multiplication, you could do that. If it was via a stat, then you could change it here to whatever stat it tracks by. And if it's by proficiency instead, you would click use proficiency bonus and do that. You can set these by level. So level 1 to 20, like focus points, you would have to set 20 of them because you get 1 focus point per level, but there's no operator here to track by level. So that means you have to make 20 individual ones. That's a pain in the butt, but sometimes that's the way you have to do it. This one, easy, 1, and close it down, okay? It will track that. And how does it look for Eternal Spellguard? When you go into your features and traits, Eternal Spellguard is active. I had activated it to fight the Lich, but active, inactive. If I set it, so notice all the stuff up here, okay? If I set it inactive, it's going to refresh, and this went away, okay? My defenses changed. But if I set it active, it'll refresh, and the defenses will go back. That's how you make the toggle, okay? That's why you make the toggle. I'll show you more on how it's the toggle. Okay. This was about how to set the bonus action. We just talked about that. Okay. We don't need auras and all that. Okay. Now, edit the second class feature. So when you add an option, they look pretty much like adding a feature. Okay, it's a little bit smaller in the list of the stuff available, but granted and all this other stuff is the same. I turned off granted because you have to turn it on. If you set it as granted, then that would be for things that are like the vestige. Patron uses that a lot because you have a cascading additional set of options as it levels up, and so you would want to grant things there. Okay, here it's not granted. Here we set 2 modifiers: a resistance to everything and advantage on saving throws. What does it look like? Resistance is the modifier type, and we set it to all. Okay, that's simple. Advantage is the modifier type, and we checked saving throws. So if we're within the aura, then we get those 2 things, and we'll have to tell our friends at the table that they get them as well, and do our best to track everything. Combat can be complicated. Important thing, this is how you set the toggle. Okay? If you're scratching your head about any of it, my guess is that's the part you were scratching your head about. Okay? And yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, your steed. Let's talk about your steed. Extras. I'm using an elk currently. But if you manage your extras, you can go add, so this is all these categories, they finally pop in. You can add a category, and one of them will be a mount, a pet, a vehicle, whatever it is that you want, okay? They have these extras that are programmed in. Different wild shape types are cool. This one was a mount, okay? And you type in here, elk. After you choose category, let's just say familiar, you're going to get a list of stuff, and then you'll just type in elk, okay? And you'll have an option. Sometimes it'll be the 2014 one, sometimes it'll be the 2024 one. You're just going to have to do the math and figure out which one you want to use and go from there. But once you do, you get a little guy over here that you can click on, and you can click on the hit points button. If you customize him, see how I set that max HP to 55? Because with Fine Steed, his armor class would be 18 and his max HP would be 55. This here doesn't show the otherworldly slam action, they have this ram action, so it's kind of useless. You would instead have to go to your features and traits and look up your faithful steed and click down here and then look up the otherworldly slam action here. Okay, so it's not going to automatically put it in there for you, but it does make it available. If you look at the token browser, I don't want that one, I want this one. It does make it available for you here. Okay, so it will change the AC, it'll change the hit points, and it will run the hit points and the AC and everything off of your typical page as you're playing, so it makes it easier to manage. The DM doesn't have to do it all. That's an option for you there. Okay, we're going to close out the spell guard, and we are now looking at the magic stealer. Okay, so let's look up magic stealer. If I spell it correctly, that might help. Okay, how did I make the magic stealer? Okay, so we have the empower sneak attack, drain magic, sabotage, occult shroud, and the drain magic stuff. Okay, so let's see what happens when I click on it. Here are the levels. As you can see, they are granted options because they're automatic. Nothing needed to change because he doesn't get spells. So he's just a rogue, okay? Doesn't get anything there. Let's empower the sneak attack. How does this work? Well, it says you use a reaction to absorb magical energy and deal extra force damage. Okay. I can give you a reaction to track by going and creating an action general, set it to that name, and then setting the reaction. If you go here and you cast a level 1 spell, well, there's nothing automatic I can do about that. So you're going to have to track that for yourself. But it did say you can take this reaction number of times equal to your int modifier with a minimum of 1. Okay, modifier int. It's got these little brackets here. They open and close it. These are called snippet codes. You look up on the forums about snippet codes and under homebrew and how to use them, and it'll give you the list. This one is the int modifier. Where do we find that information? Here on the bottom it says you can take this reaction a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier with a minimum 1, and you regain all when you finish a long rest. So the long rest is reset type here. This says reaction time number of times is equal to the int modifier at minimum 1. And if you look down here, limited use, the base is equal to the int modifier. What does that look like? Number of uses is set to 0, plus addition, int. Okay, so you get a minimum 1, and then it'll add it to the int modifier. Or add the int modifier to 0, which sets the number of uses. What does it look like practically in the spell stealer? In reaction, you get empower sneak attack, and they're all here. Okay, you can click on them. They're all there. And it says right there, you can use the reaction 5 times. That 5, look at it. It says modifier int admin 1 unsigned. That's your code, okay? And that's just to help you keep track of the math, because otherwise it might be overwhelming in the middle of the fight, okay? So that's how that part works. Again, look up snippet, this word, snippet code, and it will tell you how to do that. You cannot use your snippet codes in the description, okay? Just like you cannot use, when I put those things on and it said, like if I were to put reaction here, and I put a bracket, action, close bracket, action, and then I would have a tooltip pop up over the word reaction that explains what a reaction is. Okay, that's an automatic thing that it does. If I were to put damage under force, it would do that too. Now, we're talking about calculating the force damage. You roll a number, d6 is equal to spell level. I don't know what spell level you're using. There's no way for me to know what the spell level you're using is. So there's no way for the computer to know. You just have to tell it and then go on your own. Let's say you're using, let's say you steal a level 1+ spell. So let's say you stole a level 2 spell. Okay, you go to your little dice. It's a number of d6s, so you find the d6, you add 2 of them together, and you hit the roll. Okay, that's how you do it. You can't. There's no other automatic thing you can do, but you can play as it, and that's what's important. You will be able to play. Okay, let's go back out. I'm not getting rid of this page here. Okay, because that's what I'm adding the snippet codes and things to stuff I want to use from the books I have purchased with my own money. So never mind what a scum beast is. If you want to figure out what this guy is, you can go and buy, what's the book? The Monster Manual Expanded for 2nd edition, Volume 2. You can go buy that on the DM's Guild, which is here. Okay? You can buy it here. And usually they are under like the most popular purchases, stuff like that. But this is where you would take, like right here, Monster Manual updates. That's where these guys are from. So anyway, as you purchase things and you're like, why can't I use it in DnDBeyond? This is the point, man. This is why you're listening to me put this stuff in, and then you can go play with it yourself later and add, like I'm doing, all the stuff that you have in your books into the homebrew, and then play with them. And do not try to sell them or put them up for free or anything else in the homebrew store. Everybody's got to buy it. Got to support the creators. Don't do stupid things. Anyway, you get in trouble really fast and you lose your accounts. Just don't. Just keep it private. Use it in your game like you're supposed to. Okay, that's where it's legal. Okay. What's next? That was Empower Sneak Attack. So now we're going to drain magic. Okay, let's close that just so we don't have that up there in the thing. Okay. Draining the magic as a magic action. Okay. So you're going to just say, I'm taking the magic action. Okay. You can touch a willing creature and end a effect. This is a targeting thing. D&D Beyond can't target. It also can't tell what the effects are. So basically the only thing I can do with this is make an action for it so I can track it. So set it, general, drain magic, make an action, and set the reset type to short rest, limited use, set it to 1, and then you're just tracking it. Okay, there's nothing else automatic anyone can do for you in D&D Beyond. Magical Sabotage. What is it? It is stuff you can do with your Cunning Strike options. Again, these are just decisions and targets, so there's nothing really that they can do. If you can look up what your sneak attack damage is. Oh, how can we do that? Let's try to show you where that is. So if under attack, you see where it says damage 10d6. Okay, but I want to use my other feature here, my Magical Sabotage. You're going to have to do the math and subtract. You're going to use multiple ones. You're going to use spell susceptibility and disrupt spell. So you're going to use 5. Well, then you'd have however many you have left. You subtract it. You do the same thing as I showed you before. You go to this little polygon guy here. You put in the number of d6s that you want to roll, and you roll it instead of clicking on the thing for sneak attack. So it's as good as it's going to get. Sorry. But that's how that works. There's nothing else to add, since it is a feature that's done at the table. Math and things that are done at the table, it's the best you're going to get. Okay. Occult Shroud. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can cast non-detection. See where it says spells right here? Non-detection and spells. This means that it will, in some menu locations and display locations, show you the non-detection spell. Eventually, maybe they'll make it so that these codes will work under snippets, but right now you're just going to have to do it there. At least it's something to help look it up. I did create for non-detection a spell that's here. So does it consume a spell slot? No, I set no because it's like an automatic thing, the way that it's written out. When you finish, you cast. And when you do so, you can target only yourself, and the duration is increased to 24 hours. I had to add that to the description here. Does it count as a known spell? No. Is it always prepared? Yes. So it's like an auto cast on long rest. You have to hit the button to make it function and keep track of it and all that, but that's the way the function works. Okay, but it's there and you will be able to do something with it. Improved drain magic. You can do more for it. If you wanted, you could do it as a replacement, but right now I just set it as an extra function that's in there, and the action is set in there. As this is now a bonus action. I think the other one was a bonus action too. But it basically just makes it so if you're using one or the other, then, you know, it's there. So you can set the drain magic however you'd like. Or like I say, you can set it as a replacement if you wanted to. Eldritch Implosion. You can force a target to make a Constitution saving throw. 8 plus your modifier plus proficiency is usually like a spell save DC. So see, it says here 8 plus dex plus proficiency bonus. So it's almost like you're casting with your dex on that. But when you look at it, spell implosion, features and traits. Actually, is this set as an action? Limited use. I should probably just read it and it'll tell me what I did. It's just forcing a saving throw, so it's not even like an action. It's just a thing you're doing, so it's going to be under features and Eldritch Implosion. So you can see the DC would be 19 based on what I have, and it gives a stun condition. So here, if I wanted to, like I can show you, just to put condition. Copy paste, set it to closed, and if there was a tooltip for conditions, it would pop up there. So that's just me doing a little bit of housekeeping on that one. That's the rogue. That's the Magic Stealer rogue and how you can put them in. Now we're on the very, very difficult one. This is the Vestige Patron. This is an advanced concept. This is a lot of work. This is more work than all of the others combined. I had to go in and create a Vestige monster so that it would appear in maps. So if you look here, you can make the token browser go away. The vestige that's here, the vestige that's here is a pet, but I had to create it as a monster first and then edit the monster inside of the Warlock's page under extras. So I loaded him in, again, make all my rolls go away. I loaded him in and then I customized it based on the information that I had. So when I created the monster at first, I just said, okay, it's a level 20 and that's it. You could set the stuff up as a level 1 and then what you can customize, such as your armor class and HP and size and things like that, you could do that. If it changes in size, I mean, that's a good place where you can make those changes. But all of that will be adjusted easily from your extras page. But you still have to create, in order to create like the icon and all the other stupid stuff, you have to create a monster first that can be loaded in. What does the monster look like? It looks like this. Okay, I just threw in some information and then took a stupid picture and put that in. And I took out all the options of everything else so that it stayed celestial. So if I wanted to change the look of him for the other two, undead and fiend, I could. It is a lot of work to make this guy work, but that would be why you use D&D Beyond, because you set it once and then it's just a bunch of clicks. Okay. What do we got? Oh man, we have this here, right? How do I make this? You're still going to use your tables and things in Excel or Word, or you steal one that already exists. You steal one from, let's say, the Drake Warden, and you steal that and then just fill it in with all the relevant information. You see how this one gives a tooltip? That's what those condition tooltips and things were, so that, you know, if it was a sense, it would pop up. This page here is where things look like they pop up. The vestige, if it was the undead one, if it was the fiend one, and if it was a celestial one, I had to make separate companions for each one so that it would limit the options to just what you had. The spells and things that are here, this is another reason why it doesn't load automatically or make it homebrew. You have to own the player's handbook in order to have access to all of these spells. And you have to have the player's handbook on D&D Beyond, and that makes it invalid because you have to have a PHB instead of just the basic rules. But you can put it in if you have it, and that's for yourself. Each vestige has different options for themselves, and I have to program all of those in separately as separate options that cascade over. And they also take things from cleric domains. So you have to put those in separately so that you can mix and match between the vestige types and the cleric domains. It's a lot, okay? I'll show you how I did it, and you're just going to have to spend the hours doing it yourself. Vestige patron, info, you don't need to mess with anything because it's just a warlock, okay? Where do we go from there? How do we set the companion? Okay. The function itself is granted. You will select the type of companion you want, okay? You make those in the options. So each option is separated out: celestial, fiend, and undead. Okay? This one has options. This one is granted. Okay? Down here, these are not automatically granted. Okay, so that you can change them out. If I wanted to, under my features, under my class features to separate things out, if I go in and I say vestige companion, I can change it here. I can select these on the fly. It will change other features other places. It might make the page go weird and you have to refresh it, but you can set these for each one, okay? And then on top of that, what did I select here? It has an aura of power that you turn active or inactive. Same way we did with the Spellguard Paladin. With their stuff, we just make an inactive option, and then we have an active one that does the thing we want it to, so then we can turn it on and off. The domain, I'm just not seeing the domain. It's in here too, but you can set the domain however you want it to be. It's probably higher up somewhere. Anyway, going back to the rest of the spell builder, the things builder. Let's just click on the celestial because it's the top one. I made from the snippet codes in order to make life easier, since it says plus your charisma modifier 13 plus modifier :CA unsigned. Unsigned means it doesn't get a plus. If it's signed, then it gets a plus or a minus. You can do multiplication, so 4 times the class level. So it says 4 times your warlock level. So 4 times the class level. Character level would be the whole character. This is just the warlock level. And then D6 is to make it show the word D6s. The rest of this, okay, so like the vestiges strike, I took the strike function here and put it up here so that when you look at it under your Vestige Companion. See, all this dump of information is the full one. This is a smaller set here that just tells you exactly. You're going to get 84 hit points and an AC of 18, and it's going to hit at plus 11 with 8 radiant damage, or 1d6 plus 8 radiant damage. It simplifies the whole thing. It has its own separate action that it can only do once per long rest, and those are here under this divine power once per day. I put it under long rest. You can put once per dawn. I don't care. That's up to you. But those, again, bringing it all the way down, are set under here under actions. So Vestige Strike as a bonus action, that's this one here. You are using your bonus action to tell it to fight. It says specifically it will only take the dodge action on your turn unless you set it to do something else as the bonus action, and that's why it is set here as the bonus action, because it is on your page where you have actions, bonus action. You're telling it to do the Vestige Strike. Okay? That's how I have it set up. Makes it easier, I believe, for people, and go from there. So this guy here, we don't need that. A Magic Stealer, that's from before. Same thing, Healing Touch. I set it for special because it is not my bonus action. It is the bonus action of the Vestige Companion, and it's only once per long rest. Great. You could set it to bonus. I don't care. Whatever you wanted to do. And then limited use is just like it was before. It gets 1. Even at level 20, it gets 1. If you want to see, I'll just show you the Vestige Strike. Vestige Strike, it's a ranged attack. Uses my charisma score, and the die count is 1. It's a d6. Displays attack, yes. It is a radiant because it's from Celestial. Type is bonus. You can use it many times, so you set it to other, and then put the information here. You do the replacement of with the math that you want inside of these snippet codes, and then have the rest of it dump out just like it would be on the UA PDF. Okay, that is the first thing that you're going to go do, and then you're going to go back in if you're a completist and do the same thing for the Fiend and for the Undead. They basically all function the same. The only real difference is like damage types, but yeah, you're going to set 1 for each, and you'll set them as not granted, but one umbrella idea here, the Vestige Companion one, that one is granted. Okay, it cascades, so that might be confusing for you. And then the same thing that we had to do before, but in a much more complicated way. The domain you're choosing is spells. Okay, so this 3rd level domain, you get life, light, trickery, or war. That means you need to set options, again, has options, for life, light, trickery, and war. That means for every single granted level of spells that you get, you need to have a cascading set of options that is restricted to just that choice. Complicated, I know. Okay, so first thing is to say, all right, well, what does it look like when I actually do this? You're setting it to options. This is your your big umbrella, top level feature, and then you're going to go down and make options for it. First one is the life domain, and you will make a table out of Google Sheets, Word, whatever you want to do, paste it in. I have these where it says spells, so I'll, it's like I have the codes here for every single spell that's in the domain, and that means that I will be able to mouse over and see what the spells do as I'm in the builder selecting that domain. and what levels they happen at. That just gives me information. Level 3, the bottom one, is the most important because that's probably where you'll select it, and then you can just go back in, and when you see it, you'll get that information. Each one of these spells. Okay, again, I want to show. This is not granted, so that you can change it later. Okay, not granted. But each one of these spells, I just put the name, and it does consume a spell slot. It does not count as a known spell, which means that when I level up, it doesn't take away from the spells that I know that I get per level. Okay, always prepared. These ones are always prepared because that's how it says that it's going. It's like once you have chosen, you thereafter always have the listed spells prepared. So that's where you set that. Okay, and you'll do that for every single spell at the level you're at. Keeping in mind, they sign 2014 at level 1. They give you some spells, and you don't get the subclass to level 3. So you get level 1 and level 2 at the same time. So that's why there's 4 in the first ones, and then the next ones you get fewer. You only get like usually 2. Sometimes you get 3. But there's 4 at this one because normally you would get a 1 here, and you would select the cleric at level 1. This one just doesn't do it that way. Okay. All right. Where are we going to go from there? You do that 4 times. You do that for 1 for each individual one. And that's at level 3. It's more complicated at level 5. Same thing. You're making one that has options. Same 4 options, right? But you're going to set a prerequisite. So this one was the life domain. And you are going to set it to granted, prerequisite, and you could set, any of the other functions and features and things that are in your whole, stuff that you're doing, but you want it at the lowest level one. Once you have it set, and if all the other options for levels 7 and 9 and so on are also set to trigger off of the prerequisite of the 3rd level selection, it will just click them on. It'll be automatic for you. Okay? So that's how you do that. You set it for granted, you set it for prerequisite, and then you put in your spells exactly the same way, making sure that you have the correct spell, that it consumes a slot, does not count as a known spell, and is always prepared. Time consuming to put all of the different options in. Sometimes the website is faster than others, and they're working on that, but that's how you do it. And you go back in every single time for all 4 domains, and you do it at 7th level and 9th level, making sure to set the prerequisite to the 3rd level choice. Okay? Vestige recovery is it regains its use of divine power whenever you finish a short or long rest, or you use your magical cunning feature. There's no way to track it because of that magical cunning feature. There's just no way to track it. You will have to track it yourself. When you go into the vestige recovery option, let's see if I have it here. Magical cunning's right here. So when you would turn this on or off, you would turn. It's further down. I think it's because of this one of these other things. You would turn one of the other ones off. Oh, it's divine power. Sorry, the divine power is this one. Okay, so that's the healing touch thing. If you look here, that divine power is under the bonus actions that is allowed. So it's once per day or once per long rest thing now becomes once per short rest, or whenever you rest, or whenever you use magical cunning. Okay, so you track it that way. There's nothing I can do to make it automatic, so you just have to do that yourself. But it's there, and it's there to remind you. Or a power. It manifests and does weird stuff. So on or off. I showed you about inactives, so I'll show you about the active one here. Okay. Modifiers. It gets all these resistances and immunities as it's described. And when you drop to 0 hit points, there's no way for me to check that, so you're going to have to do that yourself. But it says, you, the Vestige, and allies gain resistance to fire and have immunity. I think it should be to whatever your actual Vestige is using for its damage instead of all 3. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but that's how they wrote it, so there you go. And it lasts a number of hours equal to your charisma modifier. So the only thing I was able to do is take the snippet code and change it so you would see X number of hours, and it will calculate and tell you the exact number of hours. And when you drop to 0 hit points, how many hit points you actually go to. So Aura of Power on this one, if you look at it, currently set to inactive, but when you drop to 0, you would go to 25, and the aura would last 5 hours. And it's a 30-foot emanation that originates from the Vestige. So you would take the Vestige, you know what I mean? It would be like there, for example, and you would take an overlay. So it's a 30-foot. Let's make this one, so it's a celestial. Yeah, we'll keep it yellow. It's a 30-foot emanation, so 5 plus the 30-foot on every side. That means that it would go to 65. You draw out a, that's not what I wanted, whatever that is. It's from clicking on stuff. You draw out your emanation to 65. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. I don't think I have enough room. Hold on. Let me give myself enough room here to try to draw this big ass emanation out. It's basically like having a paladin on staff right there, but you're a warlock. So you take that, and however big it is, you drop the little guy in the center, and you hold shift, you take both, you group them, and now the little guy will move with that. Okay, so that's how you do it on maps. And then you have the aura that's either on or off. As the toggle, let's turn it on. So now it should show the details of having fire, necrotic, radiant, and immunity to charmed and frightened. So it shows up on your page, but not necessarily on anyone else's. So you'll just have to tell them what's happening and going on from there. And you know, it gives you not here, you know, it doesn't say here what it is, but over here it'll tell you that it's 25 hit points if you die. Okay. Semblance of life. Oh, let's close these guys out. I think I fully explained that. Okay, so the semblance of life, it will continue to grow, and you can change it into a summoned celestial of whatever type. You're really only tracking, each one is set here. You're making a separate one for each option, but mainly so that you can track this spell: summon celestial, summon fiend, and summon undead, because it gives you some other information, like it'll say what level you cast the spell at, and each one of those is set here. So summon celestial, number of uses 1. You're going to cast it at level 5, and it does not consume a spell slot. It does not count as a known spell. It is always prepared, because you're going to use it when the option is available as the means that you change out your celestial. If that happens, you would go in to your character, go to the extras, manage the extras. You would add a new pet and celestial. You would look at all these different, types of celestials that exist from all the different books that you own, and you would pick one, you would add it, and then you would take the additional stat information over and use it there. You can keep it on hold here just in case with whatever your current level information is, and then just not use it. You can maybe change the status of it here.